So first of all, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first webinar of the Cloud Solutions Coffee Club webinar series organized by ASB. I am Cornel, Inside Sales Representative at ASB, and I'll be welcoming you to this afternoon's webinar. The goal of this webinar series is really to inform IT professionals who want to discover the possibilities of cloud-based solutions in combination with a fun coffee break. For your information, you can also send us questions in this chat window, and these questions will then be answered after the webinar. Please do also be aware that the webinar is recorded, and make sure to have your phone with you because you will need it later. So first of all, maybe, who are we? Who is ASB? ASB stands for Advanced System Provider, which means we are a visionary system integrator and managed service provider. We deliver and manage IT projects using cloud and on-premise cloud platforms. The company was established in 1995, based in Brussels, and has a team of around 40 people. Let's look to our partnerships then. As you can see, we do not only have partnerships with the platforms we'll be talking about in the webinar series. As a matter of fact, we have partnerships with hardware providers such as Dell, data availability specialists such as Veeam, and security solution specialists such as Checkpoint, alongside others, of course. And having all these solutions at hand, we are highly suitable to build, manage, secure, and optimize any data project, really. Moving forward to our agenda for today, the content. So first of all, we'll have the ServiceNow introduction, which will be done by Hans. He will also explain about the workflow automation possibilities on the ServiceNow platform, as well as the internal use of ServiceNow. This will then be further explained by our ServiceNow expert Srivathsa, who will illustrate our internal use of the platform by doing a live demo. And with this info, you'll know how powerful it is to automate workflows and how easy it is actually to manage your business efficiently from one place. And afterwards, we'll have time for the Q&A. Okay, now let's get acquainted with one another. And for this, we have prepared a few questions, and this is where you'll be needing your phone. So please make sure you've got it ready. Let me just pull up and ready. Okay. Okay, I think the code should be visible now. You can scan this with your phone, and then you'll be automatically positioned on the polling questions. By the way, this is completely anonymous. So the first question is, who are you? Because we're wondering, of course, what type of people are watching, and it might be interesting to see for everyone who is in this webinar. Okay, yeah, I can see we can have a few answers there. Okay, okay. So let's move on to the next question. Have you used ServiceNow before? Of course, it's interesting to know what the average user experience is. Yes. Yeah, so I can see there's already quite a few answers in there. Okay, I think we can move on to the next and last question then. and that is how well do you know ASP? Of course, it's also important to know and see if we've got any familiar faces in here. See again a few answers popping up. That will be it then. Thank you for participating. It's been very nice welcoming you all to our webinar and get to know all of you, well, at least to a certain extent. Now my colleagues Hans and Srivathsa, the ServiceNow experts in our team, will take over and guide you, plus tell you all about the ServiceNow platform. I'll see you back at the end of the webinar.
So thank you, Cornel, for the introduction. Before we dive into ServiceNow itself, let me first quickly introduce myself. So my name is Hans van der Elst, and I'm with ASP for almost 8 years now. I used to work as an account manager within ASP, but since 2017, I am fully focusing on ServiceNow. So ASP is an implementation partner and a customer of ServiceNow, so we also use it ourselves. And I will explain in the next 20 minutes why I like the platform and why we believe that our customers should be looking into it as well. Let me start by saying ServiceNow is one of the visionary tech companies around these days, used by a lot of big companies, as you can see on the slide, but definitely not only for big companies. We will show you in the second part of this webinar how we, as a smaller company, also use ServiceNow. What I want to highlight with this introduction slide is that ServiceNow really is a stable, mature company way beyond that startup phase. So they have global support teams, are investing heavily in research and development, and this results in 2 product releases per year. So you've seen on the previous slide that ServiceNow is growing at a tremendously rapid pace. But why is ServiceNow so successful? What value are they bringing to their customers? Well, we see that the business environment is evolving. We see the following things happening at our customers. So from a traditional business strategy based on known parameters, such as industry or competitors, we see a shift towards unknown parameters. So think of taxi companies. Their competition is no longer other taxi companies, but it's Uber. Think of platforms such as Bol.com, who are competing heavily with the traditional retail. Think also of Netflix, who is really competing with the traditional broadcasting companies. And also the recent pandemic has also served really as an eye-opening reality check for how fast companies can adapt to this change and can deal with this change. Then we see that expectation for delivery times that has changed also drastically. So from expectations of months and years, we really are faced with expectations with our customer base. They expect like the applications on, delivery times of weeks or even days. And while organizations really implemented these systems for different departments, we see that a lot of extra, let's say, additional software is needed within the departments of an organization. So we really see a lot of application requests from different departments to solve a really specific use case, or what we like to call a workflow. And a workflow that allows you to streamline various tasks, requests, notifications, and approvals that need to happen for customers, employees, and other stakeholder groups. So whether they are inside or outside of your organizations. We also see that the way that applications are built is also changing heavily. So we see there a shift from real developers to people with no IT background developing applications. So myself, I don't have an IT background, and I develop applications on the ServiceNow platform. Also, which is interesting, you don't need to worry about the scaling of your application or making sure that your infrastructure can let's say, cope with this this increase of applications, because that's something that, of course, the platform as a fully 100% cloud platform takes care of all these scaling challenges that might come up. then why is it so difficult for some organizations to achieve the things that were mentioned on the right side of that previous slide? Well, mainly because of a number of reasons. We still see a lot of legacy solutions and point solutions, which are often not integrated, leading to data inconsistency with a poor user interface, completely ignoring the user experience and mobile use. But that is something that we can no longer accept. We can no longer accept that we don't have the same experience on the work floor as we have in our daily lives. So we see IT teams with very skilled people, but they simply spend too much time keeping the lights on and have limited ability to deliver these modern services due to the management of those legacy on-premise systems. And for the management, there really is a lack of visibility, making it nearly impossible to make informed decisions on how to improve. And this, of course, ultimately leads to also having an impact on the financial situation of a company. We believe that ServiceNow, or with ServiceNow, we can provide really an answer to these challenges, because the real power of ServiceNow can be found right in the middle of this slide. It really is what we call the Now platform. You see there in the middle some platform features like virtual agent, the workspaces, the workflow engine, the CMDB. And at the bottom of the slide, you see some modules that are delivered by ServiceNow. It's either ITSM, ITOM, ITBM. Let's take the example of ITSM, which stands for IT Service Management. That is something that you don't need to rebuild from scratch, of course. It is delivered by ServiceNow. You can let's say, configure it for your needs, but you don't have to customize it or to fully implement it from scratch. So these applications are offered what we call out of the box, but you also have let's say, the power of that platform really at your fingertips to create applications for a really specific use case. And we'll show that in the second part of the webinar. My colleague Srivathsa will show you how we at ASP concretely do this. Also, the fact that we use a platform, well, we can take advantage of a shared data model, shared workflow, shared intelligence. So you don't have to, let's say, to maintain all these applications in a different way. It's all built on the same core. So you don't need to upgrade many applications. It's one platform. But also want to highlight is that ServiceNow also allows you really to track if projects that you do are aligned with the global strategy of your organization. So it allows you to manage your projects, to manage resources. This is in fact all part of the what we call ITBM module, which stands for IT Business Management module. That is not the topic of today, but we will definitely organize future webinars on that one. So I would say stay tuned for that one. But of course, ServiceNow does not live on its own in an organization. And even if you can bring a lot of business needs onto the platform, ServiceNow will not entirely replace your ERP or CRM system. So at the top of this slide, you have the entry points for your customers, whether they are internal or external customers. They can communicate with their service department via different means, so via mobile, via the web, of course, all possible browsers are supported, or via other means, just as Facebook Messenger, Slack, or other communication channels. And then in the middle, you have what we also talked previously about, really the platform with all the platform features. And at the bottom, you see the orchestration. So ServiceNow can orchestrate tasks to other systems. So an example, imagine that there's a request for material, whether it is a PC or a phone, or can be any material, and the stock is under a certain threshold, then we can tell SAP to create an order to be sent to supplier, and we orchestrate it from ServiceNow. You see there integration hub mentioned. That's in fact the technology from ServiceNow that allows you to integrate with external systems. It has a lot of pre-built integrations. Regarding these integrations, we'll also talk about Delboomi in our next webinar, and it's another way of doing these integrations, and it depends on your specific situation, and we as a partner can help you clearly define your strategy towards that integration challenge. Then next, let's take a look at some concrete use cases or concrete examples. Because too often it is still too complex for people to find an answer when they have questions or need help. In fact, they are exposed to all the complexity of siloed processes, systems, and departments. So let's now have a look at some examples. In the IT-related pillar, you find things such as reporting a phishing email, need for material, or mentioning something is not working properly. In the HR-related pillar, you find things such as requesting pay time off, changing your address information, starting a new role, etc. You also see the workplace use cases, like requesting office equipment or booking a conference room. In the finance pillar, you see, amongst others, the example of the expense application. That is something that we will show you in the demo, how we at ASP deal with expense requests. When you see users, they interact with different departments for different requests, but in fact, an employee or a customer does not need to know upfront with which department he has to deal with. The fact that the question arrives to the right people is something that the platform takes care of. So because why should the employee need to know when they go to IT or when they need to go to finance? Employees or customers just want questions answered or problem solved so that they can go back to work. And we try to solve this with ServiceNow. So from these use cases, you will see a demo later on regarding request pay time off and expense management. And it's a real life demo because it's exactly how we use it within ASP. Then I also want to share with you a little bit on our journey, the journey that we had as a customer with ServiceNow. So it's really from a customer perspective. We at ASP, we started with incident management. So basically, if something was broken for our customers, an incident was created and engineers start working on it. We also have, of course, contracts with our customers. Some customers, they are entitled to have a limited number of calls or limited time spent on their contract. So we need to keep track of that time. That's why we created also on ServiceNow a timesheet registration application. Then we noticed that engineers are, of course, not only working on incidents, but also on changes. So that is when we implemented change management. But of course, people need to, for instance, to request a standard change, people need to be able to request it via a correct way. That's why we introduced or implemented request management. Then next, one of the next things that we implemented on ServiceNow was that what we call holiday application, because the time spent is not only during work hours, or we are not working all the time. So apart from the logging time on incident changes, we also can request holiday, of course, in ServiceNow. And there we really tried to also, not only for the people registering the holiday, but really for the HR department to bring some automation in there, because we migrated from a legacy application, and with that application, so the old application we used, there was still a lot of manual work to be done by the HR department regarding management of overtime and sending the correct data to SDWorks. So let's say we did quite some automation on that part as well. Then next to that holiday/time application, we introduced fleet management, expense management, and now in the later state, we are integrating our monitoring tools with ServiceNow. So the easiest thing to do is have all your monitoring events or alerts created incident in ServiceNow, but it is impossible to deal with. So we build in some, let's say, intelligence so that we know when exactly to create an incident to be worked on or to be looked at by the engineers. So this is a little bit of a picture on our journey with ServiceNow, and we also see at customers that really they implement it step by step. So don't try to implement everything all at once. Really take it step by step. Some of the results or some of the achievements that we had with implementing ServiceNow. So we see an increase of portal usage. That means less phone calls. we also see an increase in first call resolution because of tickets being routed to the right support teams from the beginning. Our teams also have a better work environment. That is something that is more difficult to put a number on, but really our engineers have all the information they need in one place. It's what we call the agent workspace. And lastly, thanks to automation, we drastically, let's say, reduced the number of manual email sending, manual email communication, which is a good thing. Then a bit on the future, because we keep on developing on ServiceNow. We really want to bring more automation into ServiceNow. So really automate tasks to allow our engineers to have more time free to do other stuff or to be involved in other projects. So really focusing on that automation part. We're also building an onboarding application, so where we would like to get in touch with our new hires even before their first workday, so that they have a smooth onboarding experience. And next, now that we have quite a lot of data on the platform, we can also learn from that data. We can understand what needs to be done in order to get to a certain target. So it's really not only about measuring things, but also getting information on how we want to reach there, how we want to reach our targets. And then last but certainly not least, we are looking into virtual agents. So that looks very promising, but before bringing this live, it really should work correctly, because a virtual agent not working correctly can result in a real bad user experience. And that's of course something that we want to avoid. Some of the lessons learned with our implementation. It might look straightforward, but really it is something that is so easy to forget. Always keep your customer central. Don't make things too complex. Really start where you are. When I look at ASP, of course, not all that we were doing before we implemented ServiceNow was bad. So really start from where you are and improve step by step. And have employees drive that change. So define or appoint some key users, and they will become ultimately your sponsors for your project. It's really important to really have that, to really have the employees drive that change. And lastly, measure what you do. I mean, show to the stakeholders the improvement, report on it on a regular basis. I think this really ends my presentation. I thank you all for your attention. If you have questions, please ask them via the chat, and we will come back on them during the Q&A session. With this having said, I'll pass the word now to my colleague Srivathsa for the demo. So Srivathsa, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Hans. Thank you for that. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me do a quick introduction of myself. I am Srivathsa. You can call me Vatsa. I know it's a difficult name. So I have overall 12 years of IT industry experience, out of which 10 years was back in India with IBM in a pre-sales role. And it is 2 years now that I have moved to Belgium, and I've been with ASP as a ServiceNow consultant for 1.5 years now. And I must say I'm also a certified sysadmin and ITSM consultant. So that's basically about me. So let's dive right in. As Hans already briefed everyone about the partnership, what we have at ASP with ServiceNow, we have built in various custom applications to automate our internal process. And for today's webinar, we will be focusing on 2 applications, primarily holiday application and expense application. So let's say Cornell, our sales representative, plans for a vacation. I know it's strange times, COVID times, so he plans for a staycation. He is responsible enough. And he logs into the ServiceNow instance. And in the poll, I did see that most of you are familiar with ServiceNow. For those who are not familiar with ServiceNow instance, you can see that it's a cloud instance which is customizable, and you can brand your company logo here. And also you have the welcome screen that can be customized based on your role. So Cornell logs in and he sees the big screen dashboard, And this gives him an overall visibility of the IT services that we are providing to our customers. And good news, there are no critical open incidents. That means that his customers are happy, and also he can focus on applying for his holiday. So he goes into the filter navigator, types in the keyword holiday, clicks on holiday credits. And you can see that he has the visibility of the overall holiday availability for this year. And you can see there is holiday of 5 days remaining and ROH of 1 day. So he can plan for the holidays accordingly. And he goes to the next module, which is holiday request me, where he can go ahead and do his actual requisition of the holiday. So this is a list view where he has visibility of his holidays that he has requested earlier, and he can keep a track of which are the days which he has planned for holiday earlier as well. Now he clicks on new, and as soon as he clicks on new, it takes him to a simple form, nothing too fancy. Very simple, where he can update his holiday request. The employee name is automatically populated. There is a category field which is available where he can select the appropriate information to select. So he's going to select holiday, let's say. And for the start date, let's assume he is planning for a staycation with his family during Christmas time. So I'm just going to select from Monday until the Christmas day. And you see that there is a small pop-up box that has populated saying it is already a holiday. So we can correct it and put it back to 24th. And he can select either full day or half day. This is going to be a full day, 4 days of holiday that he is requesting. And he can give in a quick description as to how he wants to update his manager about it. So it's going to be holiday staycation with family. And he can go ahead and click on submit. So let's imagine Cornell is new to our organization and has no clue how to use ServiceNow. So there is also an additional feature available in ServiceNow instance where he can click on the toggle help sidebar, the 3 dots that is appearing here, and click on take a tour, which gives him a visibility on the guided tour as to how to update the form. So this is a customizable option available on the instance as such, and also on the mobile portal perspective. So he can give a begin tour and it takes him through the same steps what we have updated now. As you can see. And finally, he can click on submit. And the tour is also completed, so he knows his steps, what he has taken in order to submit a holiday request is correct and handy. So he clicks on submit button, and voila, it's already requested. And in the backend, it will trigger notification to his manager so that he can go ahead and approve the request or reject the request accordingly. So let's see what Cornell's manager does about the holiday request. So I'm just going to impersonate Francois, who is Cornell's manager. And as you can see, it is also a very similar big screen dashboard that Francois has in his homepage. And in the filter navigator, if you type in holiday, apart from the 2 modules what we saw for Cornell, Francois has additional features as a manager. So he can see all the requests requested and also the approved holiday request made. So I'm just going to go on, click on requested module, and you can see that there are 2 requested holiday forms available, and he can go ahead and click on request, and he has the visibility of what exactly the request is all about. what the request is all about and go ahead and approve or reject it. So just going to approve it from a manager perspective, and you get a small pop-up message. You have approved the holiday requested. So that's basically on the holiday requisition process from an employee to a manager level. And you would see that whatever holiday we approved has been removed from the requested module and it has been moved to the approved module. So you can see this is the request. The holiday request has been approved, and there are related modules, holiday credits, where you can see that the number of days has been reduced from overall to 2 now. And there are also related timesheets that are automatically populated for the 4 days of holiday that Cornell has requested. So this is basically from a manager perspective. And as I was also mentioning, there are email notification that gets triggered in the background. So let me also show you the various types of emails that can be customized and automated during the holiday requisition process. So as I was mentioning, so initially Cornell requested for the holiday, and Francois, who is the manager, receives the notification. So this is again a customizable option available out of the box in ServiceNow, where you can dynamically initiate the email notifications. Go ahead and click and approve as that I had showed. Once the holidays were approved, there are also calendar entries that can be updated on Cornell's calendar Outlook view, and you can see that it has been blocked. So everyone in the organization is aware that Cornell is on holiday. So now we saw 2 levels of roles in terms of holiday management. So let's take it a step higher and see from a HR manager perspective who manages the end-to-end holiday process for all the employees in the company. So I'm just going to impersonate as our HR manager, who is none other than Evelyn. And as soon as Evelyn logs in, she gets a different dashboard view. So earlier I had mentioned the homepage of the ServiceNow instance for each users are customizable options. And for Evelyn, you see that it is a HR dashboard, and she has the end-to-end overview of what is happening from a holiday perspective with the employees in the company. And you can see that there are small widgets. In ServiceNow terminology, we call it reporting widgets. These are all available out of the box. All we need to do is relate it to the appropriate application data. And here I would also show the interface this year. So you can see that as a HR, it is important to make sure that your employees are healthy and they are safe, specifically unprecedented times of COVID. So you see that there is 70 days of holiday for one employee. So probably he has not been keeping well throughout the year. So this is something which a HR manager has to be aware of so that she can make informed decision, talk to the employee personally during their one-on-one, and ensure that their utilization is also handled properly. So other aspect, what I want to show you here is you can directly also click from the report, for instance, the holiday to be approved. As a HR, she has additional privileges to bypass your manager approval and go ahead and approve or reject. So these are all out of the box features which is available on ServiceNow, and it is very user friendly and need not be a showstopper during your upgrade process. So you can evolve your application without having very huge impact. So this is on the overall perspective on the holiday application. Let's see for the expense application. So I'm just going to go back to Cornell, and let's take a use case where Cornell as a sales manager, has had a client meeting with customer and he wants to claim his expenses. So he goes back to his home page and clicks on the filter navigator, types in the keyword expense, where he has the appropriate modules for the expense application. He just has to go ahead and click on create new. So as soon as he clicks on create new, it populates to a new form view, which is much more complex compared to the holiday form what we saw. So this has two layers of layers of form, where you see the parent form, which with the expense app and the expense records, where you can add in your expense claims line by line. And you can see most of the information on the top level of the form has been auto-populated. And Cornell goes ahead, clicks on new again, and he has to update his type of expense. What is the month when the expense was incurred? So you can go ahead and select, let's say, September, and category was a lunch dinner, and I'm just going to type in customer lunch. And let's say it was close to around 50 euros. And additionally, you can also do attach your receipts here. So let's say dinner receipt, and click on submit. So as soon as this expense record was submitted, you can also see that the total amount has been auto-populated. So I'm just going to add in one more line item for the parking expenses. It's also on the same month, and the description as parking, let's say around 10 euros. And you can see that again, the total has been calculated based on the number of expense lines that are added here. And as a last step, Cornell can go ahead and request for approval so that the finance and the HR team can validate this request and take it further accordingly. So going further with requesting for approval, you can see the form has been set to read only so that there is no inconsistency while transitioning the expense requested claim forms to the finance team. As this is requested, it becomes read only, and Cornell will not be able to modify unless there is a response from the finance team. And let's impersonate again Evelyn, who is in charge also of our finance team. And this time, rather than going through the filter navigator module specification, let's dive in directly to the expense dashboard. And I can see that there are multiple expenses requested for the month, which is pending for approval. So you can go ahead and click on the specific request that has been generated. And I click on Cornell. And you can have the form open and validated. So as Evelyn, she will check in if the attachments are available. Okay, there's a dinner receipt available, compare with the amount that is feeded in, and also for parking ticket, which is where we do not have an attachment. So obviously you can also reject only one specific item, and to ensure that both are also processed at the same time with excluding the one which you're rejecting. But in this case, for our demo purpose, I'm just going to approve both. And there is a small pop-up message again saying expense has been approved. So let's go to our dashboard and see how it looks now. And on the dashboard view, you can see the expense requested from Cornell has been removed. So this is a dynamic dashboard, which is very user-friendly and clickable. One click and you get to approve it. And as a finance manager, again, it is important to have an overview on what sort of expenses has occurred for this year. And you also see the difference based on the category perspective. And here I see the category other in the pie chart has more percentage compared to the other types of category of expenses. So you can again drill down, click on the chart on your category and get details of what exactly are the expenses that were approved this year for the other category. And I must admit, hand sanitizer, etc., were not expenses that we were approving earlier last year. But considering this time of COVID, it is also important to know what sort of other category expenses are being incurred. So that's basically on the expense application. And I must also say that the same features are customizable and available on the mobile application. So I would suggest you keep tuning in on our webinar further so that you get more insight on ServiceNow. So hopefully you found our session insightful, and you also got a glimpse of the power of the Now platform beyond the world of ITSM. So with that, I would thank you from my side and hand it over back to Cornell. Over to you, Cornell.
Thank you, Srivathsa.
Thank you.
So now we've planned a Q&A moment to answer the questions which were asked before. If in any case you do have any additional questions, feel free to ask them now. So let's see what questions we've received, Hans and Srivathsa. I think there was one about the language settings for sure. One of you might want to answer that.
Yes, already answered briefly in the chat, but indeed, it's an excellent question because, yeah, certainly in Belgium, French, Dutch, ServiceNow is multilingual. So you can define different languages. You can select, you can set some languages as standard, but you can also allow for users to choose their language. Everything that is out of the box is, let's say, pre-translated, but of course, things that you create, things that you customize, you have to take care of the translation, of course, yourself. But that's not very, let's say, from a development perspective, not very complicated, but it's something that, of course, you need to take care of. Okay. I hope that answers the question.
I think that was a very good answer indeed. We'll see if the person who asked the questions will follow up on that. If there's any other questions, feel free to ask them now. Also, later you can always contact us. I think for now that was it, considering the questions that were sent in, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just check. Yeah, that should be it then. We can then move over to the conclusion, actually. So that was really it for today, content-wise. In conclusion, we have seen how powerful workflow automation is, and also the value of custom apps that can be brought to your organization. And all in all, we hope with this content, we've reached our goal of showing what impact the ServiceNow platform really can have on your organization. If you do have any more questions, like I've said before, you can, of course, reach out to us. You can reach us on solutions@asp.be. And also shortly you will receive a feedback form in your mailbox. I believe it will be also made available in the chat window of this live event. And for us, it's quite important because at ASP, we always strive to do better, and that is where feedback comes in handy. Besides, stay tuned during the coming weeks to learn more about how to connect all your different applications and databases, and how to guarantee business continuity by monitoring operations of your network in our upcoming webinars about Boomi and Dynatrace. So that was it for today. Thank you for watching, and see you in 2 weeks.